you've activated the wildcard chip over the international break and you're looking for the perfect guide, then don't worry, as I've got you covered in today's video. And starting off my updated wildcard, there has been no change from the previous Game Week 9 wildcard draft that I put out earlier in the week. The goalkeeper situation remains Turner and Areola, as I do believe these two are the best kind of rotating pair. Turner has had a price rise, so like I said in the last video, make sure to activate that wildcard now if you are going to play it in Game Week 9 to basically get the best value, get all the players in you need before they do rise. As the week progresses, there will be more and more price rises. So if you are going to activate it, do hit it now. But Turner's starting us off in goal. The next two for Nottingham Forest are really, really good. Actually, no, I'm lying. Game Week 9's really good. It's Luton. And then after that, you are going to be playing Areola for quite a lot of the weeks. Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace. That is a really good run for West Ham as well. So you would expect them to keep some clean sheets. Areola as well has put in some incredible performances since becoming the #1 West Ham Premier League goalkeeper. Obviously last year was kind of the Europa League goalkeeper. Now he is the Premier League goalkeeper and is putting in some fantastic performances. Hopefully Turner can keep his place for that Luton game. I can't see why there would be a reason that he would be dropped, but it'd be just typical FPL, wouldn't it? But I think he is going to remain safe. And with these two, it does allow us to do a lot more with our budget and bring in some top quality players further up the field. Moving into the back line, we do start off with Kieran Trippier. He was a player that I did exclude from my last draft. Had a few questions about it, but I thought, you know what, let's try and make a draft with Kieran Trippier in it. And this is how it is kind of, you know, panning out. Personally, for me, I don't think Kieran Trippier is justifying kind of the 6.9 million price tag. What else I can do with that money? I feel that offers so many like better options. I think as well, this would probably be the last week to jump on this Newcastle hype train. Crystal Palace, Wolves, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea, United, Everton. You know, I feel there is going to be a decrease in Kieran Trippier's output as well. You can't keep getting the same level of attacking returns that he's doing. You know, I know Newcastle have kind of gone into this spell where they're looking really, really good. And Kieran Trippier is as well, you know, picking up plenty of assists. But it isn't kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, sustainable at the level that he's doing. So I definitely think he is a good option. And having a Newcastle defender in your Game Week 9 wildcard is kind of needed. But I think there are better options than Kieran Trippier personally. But I thought I'd put together one for you guys with Kieran Trippier. See how this team compares to the one that I built earlier in the week. Moving on to our second defender, and it is Udogie getting in for the next few Spurs good fixtures. Fulham, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, Aston Villa. After that point, it does kind of tail off. And I think we will potentially be looking at different defensive options. Obviously, it looks like Andy Robertson has potentially picked up an injury as well. So Simicast at 4.4 million could be a nice short-term punt instead of Udogie, or maybe instead of Taylor on the bench. Maybe that is something that you could potentially look at, but we've gone with Udogie. I think him or Ped Porro would be excellent, both offering great attacking potential, as well as Spurs in fine form, you know, so keeping clean sheets, positive displays from Spurs as well. So I definitely think having a Spurs defender in here, either Udogie or Ped Porro. Personally, there's no kind of preference. I've gone for Udogie just because I know people might be struggling a little bit with budget, but if you've got the extra kind of 0.2 mil, you could easily stretch yourself to Ped Porro. Moving on to our final defender, and it is Matty Cash. I feel he has to be kind of essential, a staple of your Game Week 9, 8 or 10 wildcard. If you haven't got him and you've already activated your wildcard, he would be a player I would be looking to bring in, playing such an attacking role, kind of playing as a right winger at times this season. Had a great opportunity against Newcastle, has already hauled so far this season, and I do feel with the positions that he's getting himself into and the position that he's playing in the game, he honestly could have another super haul. And with some of the fixtures coming up for Aston Villa, West Ham, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Tottenham, Bournemouth, is a great run of, you know, a lot of the bottom kind of sides. You look at Bournemouth, yet to win a game. Fulham, highest XG conceded. Luton are pretty bad as well. So I definitely think there is a lot of attacking potential here for Matty Cash, a lot of clean sheet potential as well. Obviously, the only concern around Villa players and any players in European football is that risk of rotation, but I do feel like Matty Cash will be used and utilised in the Premier League more than the Europa Conference League at the moment. Maybe in the latter stages we will start to see Matty Cash suffer from a little bit of rotation, but in these early few game weeks I think it is going to be Matty Cash in the Premier League, probably Ezri Konsa at right back in the Europa Conference League. So I definitely think he is a player, or at least a Villa defender, is needed or required on your Game Week 9 wildcard. Right, moving into the midfield, we do start off with Pedro Neto, who has started the season on fire, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely killing it, picking up attacking returns left, right and centre. I didn't go with him. I swapped him last minute for Diaby and I kind of regret it, especially picking up an assist against Villa. Diaby coming off in the 60th minute. Not great. But Pedro Neto now plays a team who are in disarray, really lacking leadership within their ranks, and it is Bournemouth. And then in game week 11 as well, they play Sheffield United, which is arguably one of the best fixtures. Game week 13 as well, you've obviously got Fulham in there, so, you know, if you can find a way to kind of rotate him out of the Newcastle and Tottenham games, then I definitely think, you know, you've got yourself a great asset here on your hands. Looking at the bench as well, we do have potential replacements. Game week 10 is when Brighton's fixtures turn really good again, so Estupiñán can kind of rotate in for Pedro Neto at that point. Obviously, you've got your other defenders as well. Burnley's fixtures aren't too bad. Chelsea's are a little bit difficult, but we'll come on to talk about Cole Palmer. But Neto, for me, I feel he's a great asset to own. It feels like last year, you know what I mean? When everyone was kind of clambering towards him, you know, there was so much hype going into game week 1 and he just didn't deliver, did he? He was terrible. But this year, it seems like he's rewarding his owners so far. 8.5% owned, so would be a differential and a huge rank booster. Right, moving on to our next midfielder, and it is Jarrod Bowen, a player I'm a huge fan of. Has started the season exceptionally well and has earned himself an England call-up yet again. The fixtures for West Ham, like I said, game week 10 onwards are where they get really spicy, and I feel having a player like Jarrod Bowen or James Ward-Prowse is required during this time period, because you do expect West Ham to pick up quite a few positive results, and you imagine those two are going to be involved in the goals at some point. So I definitely would recommend getting a Bowen, getting a James Ward-Prowse, depending on your budget. Right, moving on to our next midfielder, and it is Son. Obviously a blank in Luton, but I think that game was kind of a write-off after the Basuma red card. I feel longer term, there might be some question marks. Maybe we do drop Son to, you know, kind of facilitate better team depth. But at the moment, I think he has to stay. Fulham, you know, they are a team who have the highest XG conceded in the league. They are looking pretty woeful at the back. Obviously, Son doesn't really like these low blocks that kind of we've seen over the past few weeks. And if you want to hold him, you know, they've got Chelsea coming up, they've got Villa, they've got City. So some big games for Son to massively exploit in that striker position as the club captain as well. I do feel he offers a great option at 9.5 million. Right, moving on to our final midfielder, and I feel the main reason you would be wildcarding this week is to get this man in. If you aren't, then I'm a little bit worried about what you are doing, because for me, he seems like if you're wildcarding, this is the man I would be going to get. It is Mohamed Salah. The fixtures for Liverpool are great. Everton, Nottingham Forest, Luton, Brentford, City, could go either way, Fulham, and then Sheffield United. A great run of fixtures for Liverpool. Salah as well is cooking at the moment. Not kind of mega haul territory. I know he scored 2 goals and got 3 bonus points against Brighton. But for me, the reason I would have him in here is he does offer himself as captaincy rotation with City's fixtures looking a little bit shaky. You're looking at that Luton game, you're looking at that Fulham and that Sheffield United game a little bit later on as well. Some absolutely world-class fixtures for Mohamed Salah, a player who is finding his form, finding his feet again, starting to pick up attacking returns. So I definitely think he could offer himself as a great captaincy rotation player and a great shout for a point scorer as well. At the moment, quite like low owned as well compared to, like, you know, what Salah is. I think he's still below 40%. So any attacking returns that you're going to get, you're still going to get a nice chunk of rank boost. He's not going to be decimating your EO yet, but he will be doing in the next few weeks. Right, moving into the front line, and we do start off with a controversial figure in the FPL community at the moment. It is Erling Haaland. Obviously, he had quite a few blanks in the past few game weeks, but for me, I still think you need to have him just for the moment. Let's see how City get on with Rodri back in the side. I feel that Bournemouth at home fixture in game week 11 is absolute gold dust. Brighton as well, we're conceding a lot of opportunities. For me, I'm personally going with Haaland as my captain in game week 9 at the current time of recording. I just feel that Brighton defence is leaking so many big opportunities. Rodri's going to be back from suspension as well, so you would expect an improved Manchester City performance. Pep don't like losing. He's lost 2 in a row. He's going to be fired up. You imagine Haaland's going to be fired up. Scored away on international duty as well for Norway. Hopefully that just gives him his little bit of kick, his little bit of confidence back into his system. And we can start to see the Haaland of old start putting in some great attacking returns and start kicking ass again. I feel with his ownership as well, it's one of those things that, you know, you go without him, maybe he does blank for the next 2 game weeks, and then you go into that Bournemouth fixture and he absolutely slaps it. You're in big trouble. You are in huge trouble. Because even if he has a stink for the next few weeks, people do sell him. You know, he's still going to probably be around 80% owned with a lot of dead teams at this point in the game. And it's going to be devastating for your rank. So I do think having Haaland for the next few weeks is kind of needed. Let's assess the situation after that Bournemouth game, see where we're at, see what kind of feel and vibe we're getting from the City team, and see what position Erling Haaland is in. Right, moving on to our next forward, and it is Ollie Watkins. We spoke about the great fixtures for Aston Villa earlier, and Ollie Watkins, he's primed. He's looking great. He's already had 1 mega haul this season, where he picked up 5 attacking returns in those games. Obviously as well has been a kind of consistent point scorer, not like massively apart from his mega haul, you know, just picking up the odd assist here and there in every single game. But there was kind of quotes about him potentially getting penalties back in a press conference from Emery. So if that happens, that would be kind of saucy. That would make him a lot more appealing of an asset at the 8 million price tag. You know how I feel about penalty takers. I absolutely love them in this game. And Ollie Watkins, if he gets them back with this good fixture run, with the form that him and Villa are in, that is a match made in heaven for me. So definitely a player I would be considering on the Game Week 9 wildcard. Right, moving on to our final forward. Yes, we have 3 up front. And it is a man that I've not seen anyone talking about really in the FPL community. It is Lyle Foster. Now, I know what you're thinking. 4.9 million, Burnley forward. What are you chatting? What are you chatting here? Well, let me just explain myself. The fixtures for Burnley over the next kind of 6 to 7 game weeks are ridiculously good. Obviously, they got Brentford away. Now, on paper, that doesn't look an easy fixture, but Brentford are really struggling with injuries at the moment. Obviously, Flecken is out due to illness, a long-term illness, which hopefully, you know, is nothing serious. And the new goalkeeper they've got doesn't quite look too good. Doesn't quite look too good, does it, to be honest? But yeah, doesn't look quite too good. So yeah, I'm feeling confident about Burnley's chances in that one. Then Bournemouth, who've yet to win a Premier League game this season. Crystal Palace, I think that's going to be a tough fixture. It's a green on the thing, but they are defensively looking really smart. Attackingly, not so much. Then it's Arsenal, so I think you'd have to bench him for that one. Then it's West Ham, Sheffield United and Wolves, all very beatable fixtures for Burnley. This is a man who's got 4 attacking returns in the opening 6 game weeks as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I definitely think if you wanted to, you know, you've got a little bit of extra money, you wanted to kind of upgrade maybe Cameron Archer on your bench, or maybe you wanted to have a good playing defender, I think this guy would be excellent. Like a really, really good kind of pick if you've got that little bit of extra money about and you want a player who you can confidently play, who's going to get attacking returns and is massively going under the radar, then Lyle Foster would be the one for me, ladies and gentlemen. Right, before we finish up, let's have a quick run through of the bench. Obviously, we spoke about Areola. Estupinan's in here. Hopefully he's back for game week 10. Hopefully we get some positive news from the press conference that he is, because it's Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest as a run for Brighton after game week 10, which is absolutely phenomenal. So I can see us loading back into Matoma, Estepinian, all these players for that fixture run. Then Taylor, I've gone for him, cheap, 3.9 million defender. We've just spoke about the positive fixtures that Burnley have, so, you know, could easily slot himself in there as a little bit of a defensive option. Cheap price, playing 90 minutes, great, that's what we want. And then we've gone for Cole Palmer. Obviously, that last Chelsea performance before the international break was super impressive from him. Looks like he might be on penalties at 4.9 million as well. The fixtures for Chelsea, they're not there. They aren't there. So I just wanted to put him in here as kind of more a discussion point, speak about him as a potential longer term option that we might look to as a cheap defensive option. Maybe he allows you to do a lot more creative things with your team, and I just wanted to throw him out there at 4.9 million. I do expect him to have a price rise at some point, especially if he keeps up the good positive performances that he's doing and can keep himself on penalties. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Game Week 9 wildcard team. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. If you have any questions about your team, get them in the comments, and thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.